Hello, friends. In a world where the kings ruled by bloodline, one Indian dynasty did the unthinkable. They bypassed their own sons to hand over the power to their sisters' children. Discover how the formidable matriarchal Queens of Travancore rewrote the laws of power. This is the story of how female led sovereignty built a progressive empire. So let's find out more about this. So, in the lush southern reaches of India, where the coconut trees and coconut palms sway and the temple bells echo across the backwaters, there once flourished a kingdom unlike any other, the kingdom of Travancore. Its rulers were not merely kings but queens. Women who wielded authority with a quiet yet formidable grace. The matrilineal system of succession, unique to Kerala's Naya community, ensured the power flowed through the female line. And in this system, the sisters were actually given the power, the sister of the king, and the matrilineal system of succession actually flourished. So the power flowed through the female line, and in this system, the sisters of kings were the true anchors of the dynasty continuity. And their son inherited the throne. Thus, the Queen of Travancore were not ornamental figures, but the very custodian of legitimacy, the last monarch of the fading order. Let me just now introduce you to the Rani Gauri Lakshmi Bai, the only female monarch to rule Travancore in her own rights rather than a regent. She abolished the system of slavery in the state and introduced the modern judicial reform. The Queens of Travancore embodied a paradox. They were secluded within the palaces and shielded from the public gaze, yet their influence permeated every decision of the court. So their authority was subtle, often invisible to outsider, but it was decisive. They were the keepers of tradition, the guardian of lineage, and the silent arbiter of succession. In the world where the patriarchal structure dominated, Travancore's matriarchs stood as a living reminder that power could be feminine, veiled, and yet absolute. So once again, let me again tell you about Rani Gauri Parvati Bai, who issued the historical royal rescript of 1817 and introducing free universal primary education funded by state. So laying the foundation for Kerala's leading literacy rate today. So their strength lay not in overt display of command, but in a quiet orchestration of dynastic politics. The queens determined who would ascend the throne, and their approval was indispensable. And for that is also because that creates the legitimacy for the king. So they were a custodian of a royal household, ensuring the rituals, the alliances, and the inheritance aligned with the sacred order. So in their hands rested the delicate balance between continuity and the change, between the sacred and the temporal. So Maharani Setu Lakshmi Bai, though she was regent rule from 1924 to 1931, but did remarkable changes in inheritance, social justice, and she abolished the Devdasi system and animal sacrifice in the temples. granted women voting rights, promoted rural self-governance via panchayat, and signed the Nair Regulation Act in 1925, which modernized the land ownership and began the little transition away from the matrilineal laws. So friends, if you have reached this far, please inform us from which city you are watching this video, and this will help us to determine the reach of our channel. So now let's continue with this topic. The matrilineal system also gave these queens a rare autonomy. Unlike many royal women across the subcontinent, they were not defined by their husband, but by their lineage. Their identity was rooted in their maternal role. Their sons carried forward the royal bloodlines, and this inversion of patriarchal norms granted them a quiet but very deep authority. And they were the womb of sovereignty, the vessel through which the kingship itself was transmitted. Yet, their power was cloaked in secrecy. The queen rarely appeared in public, and their influence was exercised through councils and rituals and the invisible thread of kinship. So they were the unseen architect of Travancore stability, ensuring that the kingdom endured through the centuries of a kind of confusion which is created by colonial encounters, wars, and shifted their alliances. So their presence was felt in the resilience of dynasty, and in the continuity of their tradition, and in the enduring sanctity of its temple. Now let me just tell you about Maharani Setu Parvati Bai, a major force behind the reign of her son Chitra Tirunal and Balaram Varma. She championed the famous temple treaty proclaimed of 1936, opening state temples to all Hindus regardless of their caste. So the Queen of Travancore reminds us that the history is not only shaped by those who sit on the throne, but also by those who guard them from behind the veil. So their legacy is one of the silent strength of power exercised without any spectacle, of authority rooted in the tradition and maternal continuity. They were the last matriarchal of the system that defied the patriarchal norms, a testament to the secret power of women in shaping dynasties and destinies. Today, as we look back at their story, we see more than a royal figures. We see a symbol of resilience, a guardian of heritage, an embodiment of power that was both sacred and maternal. The Queen of Travancore were not merely consort or mothers. They were the invisible sovereigns and the secret architect of kingdom's dynasty. Their story is a reminder that the true power often lies not in the visibility, but in quiet endurance of tradition, in the unseen hands that shape the course of history. Though ironically, the very queen who represented the principle of matrilineal administrative power, Maharani Setu Lakshmi Bai, governed during its eventual transition as a 20th century socio-economic shift and the legal dispute, the reform movement actually reshaped Kerala's society. The royal family signed a law allowing individual partition of matrilineal joint property. So by the time Travancore merged into Indian Union in 1949, the old matrilineal system had largely given way to modern civil laws, marking the end of one of the history's most sustained system of female political authority. So, what do you think about this story? And would you like to add a few comments on this beautiful sovereign system? So, we have come to the end. Please like and subscribe our channel. And as usual, we look forward for your comments on this topic. See you in the next one. Till then, bye. Take care.